Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I'm so excited. We are talking GlobalMindED. So GlobalMindED has this conference coming up in June, but let me introduce you to Rocio Perez. She's the Director of Leadership for GlobalMindED. How are you, Rocio?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk about GlobalMindED and all the amazing things that it's doing for our community as First Gen to help close that equity gap and ensure that we have opportunities through employment, education, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, which is fascinating. And that's GlobalMindED is doing such great work. And if you get a chance to check out their website, it's globalminded.org. So be sure to check that out at some point. Would you like to introduce your guests?
Most definitely. We have two wonderful ladies in the studio today. We have Andronique and Bessie today, who you will be hearing about their amazing stories and how they've moved along as First Gen and how they've become these amazing individuals and continue to contribute to our society. So we will talk about that in just a moment.
Just a moment. Yeah.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us. So getting back to GlobalMindED, so the conference that we are speaking of is June 9th through the 11th. And we are encouraging business leaders to be there. We're encouraging educators to be there, and we're encouraging students to be there. But one of the things that we run into as students, right, is lack of money a lot of times. I don't know about you, but I had a lot of money.
Right. You know, I think I packed my lunch for my entire undergraduate. Speaking of that, Alex, I think there's so many different opportunities. One of the things that I knew is how do I become resourceful to be able to get the things that I need when I need them?
Right.
And I think GlobalMindED gives opportunities to all students, right?
Yeah.
If someone has a need and really wants to attend this conference and just cannot afford to be there, there's an opportunity. We do have scholarships. They can go on the website, take a look at that, and apply for the scholarships. And also participate. They can participate in the pre-conference, and they can stay along for the entire conference. So there's always an opportunity. I always love the one thing that I did growing up was, and I say growing up, I started college when I was very young. One of the things that I did was find ways to get in the door, because back in the day, there wasn't many scholarships. People weren't really investing in First Gen and creating those opportunities, and they figured out, how do I get in the door? Sometimes it was working part-time for organizational leaders. I would go to a nonprofit and say, can I work for you? What does that look like?
Right.
And at times I would say, can I volunteer? What can I help with leading to the conference and during the conference that I can still participate and be there among these amazing thought leaders? And it always worked out. Everything always worked out for me, which was always the wonderful thing.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities.
There really are. But as you mentioned, for this conference, you do have scholarships available for students that want to come, right?
We do.
Yeah.
And we invite First Gen students to come in and participate with us. We will prepare them for the entire conference, where they'll come in, they'll learn more about communication and personal branding, how to tell your story, how to communicate with others, and network, which is so important. A lot of people don't show up with that amazing energy, and then they wonder why they're not getting those opportunities, which is really what we promote.
Right.
Is how do we show up with all of our authenticity and all of our amazing skills that we have in a place when we have those opportunities right in front of us.
Exactly. Well, and you know, when you're young, one of the things that you're probably worried about is the intimidation of being in a crowd with all these key players in the education industry, right?
And
it's intimidating.
It could be extremely intimidating, especially if you've never seen anyone in that field. And I know you can definitely relate from that perspective. I know growing up, I had no one in my entire family. That was a dream so far-fetched that no one in my family had ever been to college.
Right.
What did that look like? I lacked the mentoring. I lacked the experience. I lacked so many different things. I always felt like the outsider.
Yeah.
I felt like I had so much to contribute, yet I was afraid to speak up in certain instances or wasn't quite feeling okay. I don't know if you've ever had those awkward moments. You're in front of someone and you're like, oh, I'm not too sure. Am I being awkward? Does it feel awkward, right? And And then I missed some opportunities because of that. I wish I would have, could have, should have. I would have had an organization like GlobalMindED that could have taken me by the hand and said, you know what, Rocio, here it is. We're going to go ahead and match you up with a mentor. We're going to go ahead and provide those soft skills that are necessary, because what we already have is the skills from education, what that provides us. But coupling that to how do I show up in the workplace, right? Because that all trickles down to the workplace at the end of the day.
Right.
You have your education, you come into the workplace, and what impact that has on a company if individuals don't show up, like these amazing individuals that own it. They're complete. I love rock stars. It's like, that's my word, right? You hear me anywhere. These amazing rock stars that have so much to contribute, yet they don't feel confident being at the table. What would it look like if individuals came in with all of their gifts, everything that they have to contribute, which helps our companies tremendously. This is where companies are looking for that diverse talent pipeline and saying our companies cannot survive without this diversity. And they know that. They want us at the table.
Right.
And how do we prepare ourselves to be at the table? Because even in our adversity and whatever we've lived, they're actually our greatest gifts. There's so much that we can connect, and we think differently as a result of that. You know, when somebody has had failure, we understand that we can continue to move forward. When we come across a problem, we're not going to run away or quit and say, you know what, there's so many other ways that we can help.
Yes, absolutely. One of those ways is through some workshops, right, that we're having at the conference.
Most definitely. We're having a multitude of workshops. Again, for First Gen, we'll talk about the power of personal branding and communication. We will most definitely talk about networking, storytelling, telling that story from a place of strength. You know, sometimes because of those gifts and those adversities, we may not be able to know or have that experience, how to communicate that. How do we tell that story from a place of strength versus a place of reality of what it was, right?
Yeah.
And really inspire versus you're always elevating or not elevating people. So the choice is yours. You're elevating or not. And that's pretty wonderful. The other thing is, after we work with the students for an entire day, we will be around the entire conference, connecting with them, ensuring that they have these amazing role models that they can connect and say, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? I want to connect with this company, this individual, I'm afraid, whatever. Can you make an introduction? We're more than happy to do that. We'll be talking about topics like opportunity youth, how to learn, empower, engaging solutions for that second generation, and strategies and everything that's there, promising practices. We have tracks for early childhood education, K-12, higher education, technology, STEM, health, you name it, anywhere from anything that can cover first generation, we will cover that topic. And there will be amazing thought leaders from all over the world that are engaging in this conference, including Janet Napolitano, who's absolutely amazing. We're very privileged to have her at the conference, and we're looking forward to all the amazing things.
I even knew she was coming.
Right,
That's
she
exciting.
is coming. So that's a great opportunity. We'd love to share even more information about her.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I wish that I had, because I didn't get any of it in college, was networking skills. I didn't learn that until I was on the job, right? And so I love that this conference, even though you're not necessarily focusing on that networking, it's an inherent part of the conference.
Right. It is, and it's something that you're learning along the way. I think a lot of students, I included, I started networking almost towards the end of my college career, which, good and bad, right? I met a lot of people. I really didn't know how to connect with them. And even when I connected with them, I came across a little awkward. Right? I don't know if anybody's ever come like that. I know I did. And what would it look like for me? Looking back, I said, wow, what an amazing experience to be able to come in and have that confidence as you're networking, that you can ask for somebody's business card and come across from a place of strength, right? Where I'm asking for somebody and saying, would it be okay if I ask you a few questions? Would it be okay if I have your business card in case I have a few questions in the future? Versus here's my resume, hire me for an internship or a job or whatever that may be, to come in from that place of strength. I want to get to know who this person is. Let me make a connection with them before I ask him for anything, and allow me to share who I am after they've shared who they are, right?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes with networking, we're so eager. I call it the fly-by networking, right? I don't know if you've ever been in the room where somebody's coming, you should know me, you should come to here. Yeah. And in reality, that's such a disservice to our students.
It really is. Yeah, that's I call it stabbing people with your card.
Yes.
Right? When you just go to the conference and you meet as many people as you can, but all you're doing is handing out that card, you're not making an impression for people to remember you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the impact that it has on you and your career. Okay, we start behind the 8 ball, and then that even puts us even further behind the 8 ball. How do we continue to move forward and create those great opportunities for ourselves? With that being said, and speaking of opportunities, I'd love to connect with Betsy and Andronique, and I want to hear your story. You know, we have a wonderful time here to be able to meet you and hear your story and your involvement with GlobalMindED. What has inspired you? Who have you become as a result of engaging with GlobalMindED?
Well, for me, as you were mentioning the networking and the confidence, Carol's big on teaching me that you need to kind of learn how to sell yourself and learn how to interact with, you know, some big players. And so what I like about GlobalMindED is that the individuals come to the office. And so I think sometimes when we're out in the world, we can be more intimidated. So when they're coming on our turf, it gives us almost like an opportunity to kind of test the waters and
it's a home team advantage.
And if we
Relax
make a mistake,
bit.
it won't be so bad, but we kind of have people there to correct us and guide us in the right way. So I think GlobalMindED has done a good job with me with respect to that. I actually met Carol through networking, and sometimes I didn't realize networking can occur even when I don't intend it to. So I met her at an event at DU, and she invited me to GlobalMindED. So I never applied for the internship. I just kind of got grabbed, and it was one of those things. It was like, you need to wake up and see this opportunity and seize it. And
Carol is amazing about that, to see talent where it's at, right? And to be able to meet you and say, okay, I see you and I see all this amazing potential in you and all these gifts that you have. Come along. Right. Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and so for me it was a little bit strange because I had to be confident in myself, because it's like, why is this woman who's like this big, like, you know, founder of this company, like, why is she looking at me? And I had to realize, like, maybe I do have something to offer the world. And it's not that I didn't really think I didn't, but it was more of a reinforcement there.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. And that's the beauty of it, from having leaders that heart-connected leaders like Carol to take us by the hand and guide us and say, hey, I see you. I see you and I see your potential. Allow me to help you shine some light on the amazingness that you have within you and what you can contribute. Now, Andronique, you're a single mom.
I am.
And you have had this also amazing journey, and you've most recently had done an internship with GlobalMindED as well. Tell us about your experience.
It was an amazing experience, and it's something that I'm so grateful for experiencing, because when I finished college, I had one class to take to finish undergrad, and I was kind of feeling hopeless because I was applying for all these internships and I wasn't getting any callbacks. I wasn't progressing, and years went by and I didn't get an internship, and you know, I just took a whim and applied for GlobalMindED. And then, you know, Carol, she saw that special talent in me, and you know, she took a chance on me, and I'm so grateful for that, because I've learned so much and I've grown so much dealing with GlobalMindED. And I've also been able to connect GlobalMindED with my university that I went to, and you know, just work on things that I've always dreamed about and I felt like I was struggling with on my own. And so GlobalMindED just gave me that push that I needed to move forward and achieve my goals that I needed to achieve.
See, I know, Andronique, you mentioned something that was so important, that when you were looking for your internships, they were expecting for you to have experience.
Yes.
So that you can even get in the door.
Right.
I have no experience. If I would get the internship, I can get experience, right?
Exactly. That's a
catch-22
if I've ever heard one. We need you to have experience to get experience.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And as a first gen, if we don't have family members or mentors or individuals who have been, who have walked that path, we don't understand what's going on. I'll share a little bit about myself. I started off very interesting path in life. By the time I was 12 years old, I left home. Home wasn't a safe place. So I started making my own path even at that age. By the time I was 14, not only was I a middle school dropout, I can't even take credit for the 7th grade because I was only there for half the time, and that half the time I had ditched. Right? Situations weren't good. And I was also pregnant at that age, and taking on that path and figuring out, what does this look like? I still had my dream that I had as a 5-year-old little girl. And by the time I was 15, as I had my son, he was 6 months old, I'm like, I'm knocking on the college doors and saying, accept me. I want to go to school. And they're looking at me like, you're too young, and giving me all these excuses and reasons why I couldn't be in college. And for me, I knew where I belonged. I knew it because it was inside of me. It was something that didn't let me sleep. I couldn't be comfortable with myself to know that I had so much potential. And I truly believe that the dreams that are given to us are only for us, right? Each and every one of us. And for me, it was to fulfill that. I ended up divorcing my parents, getting emancipated at the age of 15 so I can go to college. What a concept, right? I could have never imagined it. Fast forward, I started college actually when I was 17 years old. And it was a long path. I traveled 4 hours one way to make it to school. Just 4 hours on a bus. I'm carrying a baby. I have a big backpack, a 2-year-old in my arms, and diaper bag and everything. And I'm sure you remember, ladies, how heavy our kiddos can get. And doing that same track in the evening, doing whatever it took to get through college. And when I stopped going to school, completed a few semesters and took a little bit of a break. And by the time I was 19, I came back. And at that time, I started leading students at the age of 19. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, okay, I had never been in college. All I knew is that I had applied for a job, and my boss turned around and first day hands me over the stack of files and said, here are the students that you're working with. And I said, okay. I have no clue. So my job was, I thought I was going to go in for an administrative position. I said, okay, I know how to type, I can file, I can do whatever. And all of a sudden I'm working with students, and while I was paving my own way, the concrete was still wet. I had just thrown the concrete on the ground. I was leading the way for hundreds of other students to figure out, how do we get into college? I was very successful in doing so and ensuring that my students graduated and that they continued to advance. I could only imagine what life would have become, what would have been of me, as well as those students that I guided, had I had those skills even sooner, right? Instead of attempting to figuring them out. And I'm sure, ladies, you can testify to that, right? How important it is to have that.
I have a similar story as Rocio. I quite literally ran away from home to college, and then I started working for TRIO programs, which that's something similar to GlobalMindED, and it's really like first generation, like low income, sometimes migrant families that we helped. And so like Rocio, I learned along the way with helping other students, even though I was part of the program. It was kind of like, well, I'm learning how to help them as I learn how to help myself. And that's where like GlobalMindED comes in. It really embodies the mission that it puts out into the atmosphere of the world. So GlobalMindED operates in the same way that it wants everybody that it networks with and that it connects with to interact with the students. And so it's not just saying, hey, we're connecting first gen students to these networking opportunities, to these job opportunities. It's like we're doing it here in-house too. And so it really kind of translates really well. And I think that's why GlobalMindED works for us, and that's why we've gotten the opportunities that we've gotten, because in order for GlobalMindED to be GlobalMindED, they have to kind of give those opportunities. So it's a really unique organization to be a part of, I'd say.
Definitely.
Well, I have a question for you. So I am not a first generation student myself, but my mother was. And I have to ask, you've not seen anyone in your family take these footsteps before. What in you decided that you needed to forge ahead and get into college and work on these you know, the internships and things like that. What inspired you?
Well, for me, I've always wanted to go to college. That was always a dream of mine, and
Yeah.
I the first college that I went to was University of Colorado at Denver,
Yeah.
and I went there my first year, my freshman year, and I pretty much flunked all of my classes. So I was kind of discouraged after that first year, and I was just like, I don't know, you know, I want to go to college, I want to be better, I want to do better, but you know, I flunked my first year, so I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, talking with my mom and her motivation for me, and just, you know, trying to stick to my goals, I just, you know, I went for it, and I went out of state. I joined my twin brother who was at a university in Oklahoma, and you know, being there, I was just like, okay, well, yeah, I can do this. I can do it. I know I can do it. So, I mean, it took me a while. It took me longer than I expected.
Yeah.
But, you know, I finished, and I learned so much stuff, and I grew, and, you know, it was just an amazing opportunity for me, and I really appreciate it. And then GlobalMindED just elevated everything that I learned at college, and it just helped me sharpen my skills and gain more skills at the same time.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
wonderful.
Yeah, that is wonderful.
Well, for me, it's, I guess, why do I keep going? Why did I pursue college? Unfortunately, I came from a not so supportive background as a child. And so, like, I'm from Compton, California. I don't know if you guys know about Compton.
Very familiar with that.
So I dealt with that kind of environment, and then some things that were happening at home. And my way to escape was school. And so I actually was one of those kids who performed well. I was in GATE, which is Gifted and Talented Education. I went to school out of district. I just was always academic oriented. And so I told myself that if I did not succeed in school, that I would be stuck there in Compton. And, you know, I have 6 siblings, and I'm the only one out of my siblings, not just my parents, but I'm the only one out of my siblings who has, you know, gone to college. And there's been a lot of things along the way that threatened my success. Like, I got pregnant sophomore year, and, you know, the nurse at my school was the one who told me, and she looked at me like, your college education is just, you're just done. And, I didn't accept that.
Yeah, good for you.
What our leaders are, instead of encouraging us, they're telling us that it's not helpful.
And I don't think that she meant any harm by it, but it was more of a reality check. But, you know, I never quit. I carried my son up until my teachers were like, my professors like, you need to get out of our classroom. You're not going to have your baby on our floor. So, I mean, and then I didn't take a break. Like, I went all the way through. And I felt like I had to do that because not only where I come from, but because now I have a little boy who's looking up to me. And I mean, he's practically 9 now, and you know, I've moved on so far. But even pursuing my master's at DU, I just plan to just keep going. But just for me, it was like the adversity. It was like you could either sit here and be a victim and just let it overcome you, or you can get out of it and do something big. And that was, you know, my intent. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And for me, it was what was inside of me. It was just keep moving forward. And there's no way that dream was so big that it drew me to it. And it was against all odds.
Yeah.
Even my own mother would say, stay home. You should be at home. I was single. I was 19 years old, single. And she's, you should be home taking care of your husband and taking care of your son. And of course, I didn't. I chose something different. As a matter of fact, to this day, I've been ostracized from part of my family because of it. Because I've chosen education, because I've chosen a better life, because I've chosen to live something different and go against what was required and what was expected culturally as well.
Yeah.
Right. So that was part of my life.
Yeah. Lovely. Those are all great answers. It's it was nice to have a mom at home to walk me through the process, right? This is how you sign up for financial aid. This is how you sign up for your classes, that type of deal. And so it's exciting to see that we have something in place, right? For people that don't have the parents or the siblings or the cousins that have gone before you that can show you the path.
Right.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Well, I'm excited about sharing that on the second segment.
Yes, absolutely. We will be right back here on Connect and Collaborate. GlobalMindED focused. Stay with us.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. We are focusing on GlobalMindED today, and I have with me Rocio Perez. She is the Director of Leadership with GlobalMindED. And in this last segment, we were talking with our guests here, Bessie and Andronique.
Yes.
So sorry. And they're first generation students, and they were part of the GlobalMindED organization, and they got the internships there, and Carol Carter was a mentor for you, Bessie.
Right.
But let's roll back a little bit and talk about GlobalMindED. Let's talk about the opening dinner. It's taking place June 9th.
The opening dinner is scheduled to be an amazing dinner where we have thought leaders from all over the world who will be here for the UN dinner, and that's really looking at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have amazing opportunities to collaborate with individuals that can really change the playing field for first generation. So I highly encourage individuals who want to come and network, or who want to come and connect, who want to just have great, inspiring conversations with each other, to come in and support this program.
Absolutely. And again, if you are a student and you're running a little low on cash, you can apply for those scholarships at globalminded.org. So that's something I would be checking out.
Most
for sure.
definitely. For the conference, you can apply for those scholarships. Any student that's out there, go ahead and apply. There's so many different opportunities to engage, whether it is engaging in the conference, or some people just want to volunteer. They want to have more experience on how to run a conference and just be of service, or even translate. We have individuals who have requested to translate.
Oh, fun.
Which is really great.
Yeah. So can we talk about the keynote speaker, or should we force people to sign up? Before we tell them.
I think we should. Let's go ahead and mention our keynote speaker.
Certainly.
And our keynote speaker is Sally Eves.
Yeah.
All right, Sally Eves, and she's from London, England. Absolutely amazing individual.
Yeah.
Who will be talking about blockchain. And I know our students and individuals, that's been the number one key topic that people are so entrenched and really wanting to know more about.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence and what our emerging technologies will be showing us. It's a great opportunity to learn from individuals like Sally and see what's coming up and what do we see in our future. I know that the world is changing. When I was growing up, we used to talk about the world's not flat, right? And today, everything will be changing in a matter of years, and we're going to be living that change, which is exciting. I think it's a little nervy, right? I'm like, ooh, what's going to come?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with blockchain and figuring out how we can engage and what that means to us moving forward.
Yes. So blockchain, as we know, is definitely a new form of finance, right? It's and so speaking of finance, I'd like to get into a little bit of a conversation here about financial services, particularly for first generation students, right? And I mentioned earlier, I'm definitely not a first generation student, so it was really nice to have my mom hold my hand on where to apply for these things. But getting into that, I was a debt collector for a while. Please don't fight me.
I think I'm going to be calling you right after this, Alex. Was it you?
Was it me? But one of the things that I noticed a lot of times, the majority of the people that I called were first generation students, and they were 19 years old. They'd only taken 1-2 semesters, maybe 4 max semesters in school before they had to drop out, life at home, life at home gets
the realities of life, Alex.
Exactly.
When you're raising children, when you're going to school, you sometimes, as a first generation, we're responsible for our parents. I was responsible. Even though I didn't live at home, I still had responsibilities over my mom. I still had responsibilities over my brothers and mentoring them, ensuring that they were taken care of. So it doesn't stop there. I think when generations go on and continue 5, 6, 7 generations in this country, that looks very different.
Right.
I know that as a first generation student myself, I had gotten myself into a lot of debt. I had no clue what that meant. All I wanted to do was go to school.
Right.
I knew I needed money. I was already working 2 jobs. I had a part-time business, and then I worked a part-time job totaling more than 40 hours a week while I was going to school. how do I make ends meet, you know, beyond the scholarships, beyond the financial aid? That wasn't enough when you're paying for daycare at full price.
Yep.
That's not a pretty sight.
It's not. And it's not easy to work and go to school, right? That's, I took a different path to school. I went at 18 and went for a couple of years, and I really couldn't find my niche there. So I went back to school later in life. I graduated when I was 30 with an associate's degree, which is fairly recent. And so I was already in the workforce, working full time, you know, and then I also got an internship on top of that because I wanted to get the work experience for the field that I'm in school. And then still going to school full time. It's not easy.
It is not easy when you're trying to figure out, just to paint a picture, when I was going to school, I remember falling asleep and I waking up in the morning. I remember just laying in bed, and I'd wake up in the morning. This is the middle of winter, if you could only imagine. I'd wake up, I still had my backpack on me, which means I still had my jacket on me, and I still had my shoes on me, fully clothed. I was just exhausted, and some days I'd get up and I would say, where am I? Where am I supposed to be at today? What did I do yesterday? Was I working at the business? Was I working at, you know, the other job? What classes am I supposed to be in? There's so much that goes along with that.
Yeah.
And earlier, Alex, you asked us why, like, what kept us going? Like, why did we decide to go to college?
Yeah.
One of the things that kept me going while I was in college was knowing that if I dropped out, that debt would be on me, and I would have nothing to show for it.
Right.
And so I said, I have to graduate. I have to say I have a degree. I think that's better than saying some college on my resumes.
Yeah.
And so that was, you know, the finances are really an incentive to graduate for some people. I don't think I had the luxury to drop out. So
I know that every class that I had ever taken, and even till this day, I'm paying for it. I am going to attend every single class, no matter what, because this money's coming out of my pocket.
Right.
And I remember even in my graduate studies, I had students who were in the same classrooms. Well, my company's paying for it, or, you know, whatever. My parents are paying for it. And I would say, wow, what a luxury, because I'm paying for it. And, you know, guess what? This class cost me $2,000 plus the books that went along with it.
And the other fees.
And then the rest on top of it. That was just, I had already calculated, this class cost me $2,200 by itself. And I will take advantage of every single thing that I have to learn.
Absolutely. I did the same thing when I went back the second time. The first time I was definitely a bit spoiled, right? I had my family help me, and but when I went back the second time and I was talking to this younger student, and it was his first time around, it was clear that his parents were paying for school. And he was like, yeah, I'm probably going to miss tomorrow and Thursday too. And I just was like, what? Do you know that you're throwing $60 down the toilet right now and another $60 on Thursday when you're going to miss that class? It's aggravating, right? And it's a little frustrating to watch other students, you know, miss out on their education. And that because they're not intrinsically motivated or externally motivated, right, by the financial situation.
And I might be kicking myself in the foot by saying this, but I did converse with my son, and I told him, I said, I'm not paying for you to go to college. And he was so shocked. I was like, well, you can ask your dad. He can pay for it if he wants. But my reason for that was I appreciated college more, and I had more of an incentive to go to class and to get things done. And it just gave me a whole different perspective on college. It started to not feel like something I had to do because somebody was nagging me to go there, whereas this is something that can change my life. And the biggest thing, that it was a decision, you know, and I think a lot of times when we talk about first gen, it's like we're trying to fit in with the crowd, but it's also a decision for us, and it's probably one of the biggest decisions of our lives. And speaking of finances, it's one of those things like, well, I'm going to ignore that for right now and try to put myself in a position to be able to eat later on and be able to, I'll figure that out later. It's kind of like I'm focused on the now and getting my education.
And it's so different, speaking of that. I know when my son went to college, he's 27 now, which is a little bit of a shock even to me. I'm like, oh, he's 27 and I have a 3-year-old grandson. What a concept. I'm still
you look amazing. My mom still won't let me tell her how old I am.
I'm still attempting to figure out, like, okay, I'm accepting the fact that I have a 27-year-old. Forget about the grandson. It's like such a bonus. when my son went to school, it was so easy. It was easy. I walked into the college, son, this is what you do. Here you go, here you go, here you go. Everything was at his footstep. Right? It was so easy.
Yeah.
He, unfortunately, life doesn't turn out the way we expected as
Ever.
parents, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And now that he's back in school, he appreciates it, right?
Yeah.
He's like, he's loving it, but he gets that. He knows that he has support whenever he needs it and whenever he wants it. The road, that path that you and I and Betsy and Andronique and millions of other first generation students, and your mom included, had to walk through really gets shortened
Right.
with the fact that somebody can lead you, take you by the hand and say, you know what, Bessie, let me go ahead and share the network with you. What does that look like? What does that look like for your future? When I mentor individuals, they get a job right today and they won't start for another couple of weeks. How do I prepare you for your next job? Let's forget about this one for now. What skills do you need for the future for you to become the person that you must become in order for you to have what you want right then and there?
Yeah.
And speaking of that, share your experience, ladies, about what was it like to attend the conference, and what would you also tell students that are looking to participate, or individuals who are looking to participate in this Global Minded conference from June the 9th through the 11th? What can they expect?
Well, for me, I haven't attended a conference yet, so I
Neither
am
have I.
super excited to attend.
Okay,
And
wonderful. Well, what are you looking to get out of this conference? What have you heard that inspires you to want to participate in it?
well, I've heard so many great things about it, and I believe that it's going to be a great opportunity for me to network more and to meet people that have the same goals as me, and to, kind of guide me in the direction that I'm moving towards. Well, help me to move toward the direction that I'm moving to, because I eventually want to have my own company, and I know that there's going to be plenty of people that have their own companies and have experience in working towards their own company, and have people that they know that went through the same struggles that I went through. And I just believe that it's going to be very beneficial for me to just move forward and grow even more.
Let me share some tips that I think would be absolutely important, and then we'll listen to your experience as well. I would go through and comb that website, the Global Minded website, learn about who's going to be there, where are they from. I actually have this little sheet that I keep track of the people that I really want to meet, and who are they, what companies do they work for, what are their interests, LinkedIn profile, everything that I can get to know about them before I even walk in the door. Because most of the time, sometimes we have 3 minutes, if at best, to be in front of someone. How do we relay that connection versus, oh, tell me about yourself. I've already wasted 3 minutes, right? I've wasted that opportunity. Oh, great. I know who you are, Alex. That is great. I know the fact that you're involved in X, Y, and Z, and this is your company's mission, vision, goals, whatever. And I'm really aligned with that. I would love to have a conversation with you. Would you be open to having coffee or tea or whatever that may look like?
Right.
And that is such a great opportunity. So knowing who's going to be at the conference, knowing who's aligned with where you want to be as well. Know everyone and know specifically who you want to connect with.
Right.
Take advantage of any opportunity that you can have for professional development. For me, I have individuals who come to me and say, Rocio, you give these conferences. Why would you even be in the room? Because the day that I think I know something, or I know it all, is the day that I really don't know everything, right?
Right.
And I always sit as a good student in every seat that I can sit in, because even if I have one thing to take away, Alex, that is so amazing, because I know it will change me, it will shift me, it'll give me that upper hand. And it's not about wanting to have, I want to have 100 strategies, because not even like the best marketing company in the world implements 100 strategies for their clients. It doesn't work. Right. So ensure that you can learn as much as you can, arriving early, understanding, take care of your body. That's so important. From anyone who networks. Sometimes I can do 10, 20 events in a week.
Right.
Some days I'm like,
Exhausting.
ooh, it's exhausting, right? And to understand, I'm not there to eat. And I'll share this perfect example. I went with the client to this beautiful gala, bought the tickets. I show up. I was already networking at the door. He's sitting down, having dinner, and I'm having a conversation. I said, you have a choice. You can either sit here and enjoy your salad. I'm not here to eat. Or we can sit here and work the room. I can show you who's who in the room, and we'll connect with them. By the time we got around the entire room, there was roughly about 750 people in the room.
Wow.
We had connected with 20 individuals that he needed to connect with.
Yeah.
And before dinner was served, we had already had that connection. Imagine how powerful that is. Have your snacks, have your food, understand that you're not there to eat. You're not there to take a break, take your comfortable shoes. I always walk in my flat shoes if possible, and then get your nice professional shoes once you get in the door, and make sure that you're following up right away. I guarantee you that almost 90% of individuals do not follow up, even though they say it. And even though we have the best intentions to follow up, we don't always hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many times, make sure you have your business cards and have them ready. You know, have a system for your business cards. This individual, I'm like such a systems person. I like to have this business card and ensure that here's my top people that I want to connect with. Here's for the job. Here's for speaking. This is for just great connecting with you. I have different categories for individuals, and I'll connect with them immediately after the conference and go from there.
Right.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that's great.
So for me, what I expect to get from the conference is really the opportunity to use the skills that I've learned from the degree that I've gotten. So kind of test the waters. I know a lot of time when we speak about first gen, like we kind of just jump in. It's just like, this is college. I've, didn't think I had the opportunity to do this. Let me go study something. I have no idea what I'm doing, and come out with a degree and not know how to use it. So I have a communication studies degree, and it's one of those things where everybody's like, you need to know how to communicate, but then it's like not a hard skill.
Right.
And so it's, sometimes it's very difficult to kind of get experience in communicating. So I look forward to being able to kind of test my skills, and not in a crazy way, but to test my skills and see where I need to improve and just get to know people. I've come a long way with my confidence, and I think that this dinner and the whole conference is a next step for me. So I hope to learn from everyone there. I'm one of those people, I'll learn from like the bum on the street. So it's not just, these are big individuals, but I do plan to take advantage of that and just really kind of put myself out there and get to know what people have to offer.
And speaking of learning from great individuals, and we can learn from everyone, right? That's such a great thing. Even from baby, right?
Yeah.
We can learn from a young child. There's going to be such a great opportunity to network there at the career fair on Monday. There'll be individuals who will be talking about how you can have a career without even going to college. And then there's careers with college. There's so many different opportunities for each and every one of us, and having those experiences. How do I connect? And I always talk about energy, Alex, because sometimes we show up somewhere and we're a little low energy, and what is the impact, right? I don't know if you've ever shown up. I know that I have in the past, and I can see the difference between showing up as an energetic being and showing up and connecting with, making that eye-to-eye connection. And I know sometimes even culturally that's unacceptable, right? I know I grew up in a society like, you do not look at anyone in the eyes. How do we just come in and engage, say hi to someone, make sure that that resume is ready, that's something that can be memorable for you, for them, say something, take advantage of those opportunities. Time goes by really, really fast, and you just want to ensure that you have every opportunity. One of the tips that I love is to stand at the door. I will stand at the door and I will greet people's hands. I will come and shake their hand as they're walking in the door. Right? Because those are touch points. I'm a marketer, right? I've connected. This is how I've developed my own network throughout the last couple of decades, is connecting with individuals, ensuring that they see me multiple times. And if I already know who they are, I've seen them walking down the street, I arrive early, I'm greeting them. And by the time that it turns around that they're hosting the event, I've already connected with them. That's my third or fourth time to connect with them, and they'll know who I am.
Right.
I think those are important notes, especially, again, being first generation.
Right.
There tends to be a sort of feeling that we don't belong in certain spaces. And so the conference really gives us the opportunity to kind of break down those barriers and just get to know people and say, hey, I can play on the same field as you can. And what I've learned is that even if someone is a CEO of a big company, that they're still human, and it's important to connect with them on that level. And when you do that, it kind of like resolves all the feelings of discomfort or like lack of confidence. So yeah, these events like this are like imperative for first generation students.
I would agree with that. And the other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that I completely agree, because I know when I was in school, I was very shy and laid back, and I was the quiet person in class. So I didn't really network and reach out to people like I should have. So being a part of GlobalMindED and going to the events that I went to as a representative for GlobalMindED, it gave me so much confidence, and it helped me to just break out of myself and my comfort zone, and just to do what I always dreamed of doing. And it was so beneficial. It really was.
I was going to add on to that. Some people are shy, and it's hard to come out of your shell, and especially at a conference, a lot of people, you feel like a lot of eyes are on you. Most people are more concerned about their own shadow. But if that is your area, if that's where you dwell, is that, the shyness, the best thing to do is to do the follow-up. Find that person, make sure you introduce yourself. You want to get in front of people, absolutely. Right. But if you can't make that third or fourth introduction, you can't bring yourself to do that, certainly follow up on LinkedIn, and make it a point now, because when you ask to connect, it'll give you the option to add a note to that. Right. Right? And so you can immediately, hey, it was so nice meeting you at the GlobalMindED conference. I'm glad we got to talk about X, Y, and Z. I look forward to connecting with you in the future, right? And so you've reached out and you've sent that individual note, and that's this day and age is, your handwritten thank you note. That's that's where you get that in.
One of the things that really fascinates me, speaking of handwritten thank you notes, I have a lot of amazing friends who are CEO of billion-dollar companies. And one of the things that I appreciate, Alex, is the fact that they handwrite me a note. Yeah. How can a person who's running companies at that level take the time to handwrite me a note? They stick out of my mind immediately, just like this. Definitely. Just the fact, okay, great. Go ahead and send me your email. Go ahead and definitely follow up with LinkedIn. And to go ahead and take it that third step. Those are 3 touch points when we talk about for marketing. Okay, we saw them at the conference 3 or 4 times. There's four touch points. Then we're talking an additional 3 touch points. That one is going to be the handwritten note, probably the most memorable opportunity for you to connect with individuals.
And as much as you think it might be old-fashioned, it's definitely one of the best ways to get your to be memorable. It's not something people do anymore these days. So you will absolutely stand out. Right. We got just a couple minutes here left. Where can people go? What do we need to know?
Oh, most definitely. People can come along and join us in any one of these events, all of the events, ideally, right? Yeah. Because there will be amazing thought leaders from all over the world. They can go to globalminded.org and visit us there, register for all these wonderful opportunities. They can register for the opening dinner, the UN dinner, which will be at the governor's mansion, with great opportunity to connect there, as well as anything that has to do with GlobalMindED. We'll be having a number of workshops for anywhere from K-12, health, education, entrepreneurship, you name it. There will be so many different tracks and opportunities to intersect with other amazing thought leaders.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I am looking forward to seeing both of you at least at one of these conference workshops over the 3 days, June 9th through the 11th for the GlobalMindED conference.
I can't wait for it to get here.
Yes, yes. I am so excited. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your inspirational story. I am so looking forward to seeing all the amazing things that you get to create as a result of who you are becoming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course.
It's such a pleasure.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So we will have another radio show coming your way soon. be sure to check it out at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. We'll have it available there for you. Thank you so much, Rocio.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.